Alakazam innovators, welcome to Intrepid Textures. If you're wandering in search of a path which leads to animation, 3D modeling, game character designing, or product designing, then congratulations, because you've clicked the right video. This is the first video of the Blender Toddler series, where you'll be learning to add a life to your imagination from scratch. Today, we will have a look at the interface of Blender, understand it a little, learn to move the objects, add new ones, and also to resize them. So without wasting any time, let's dive in.
Let's have a look at the interface of Blender. The first pop-up here projects the layouts that we can use while editing, like general, 2D animation, sculpting, VFX, and video editing. Right? So now let's choose general and move on. The first title bar here just projects us with all the modes that are available, like the wireframe mode, solid mode, texture mode, where you can see the color that you have applied to the object, and also the render mode, which is the final result. And there are also different modes where you can edit, sculpt, vertex paint, wave paint, or texture paint the object you have selected here. To the left, you can see a lot of tools like select box, cursor, move, rotate, scale, transform, annotate, measure, and to add a cube. Right? We will be using this in our further videos. This interface to the bottom is the timeline, where you can pause and play. This is really useful during animation. The right side here has a lot of interfaces, right? These are useful in its own way. The first one is tool, then render, where you can choose what kind of renders you want, and there are a lot of options that can be toggled on. To the right top corner, you'll be able to see a small interface which shows all the objects that have been displayed in the viewport display. And what viewport display? This huge display in the center is the viewport display. Alright, so here you can select the objects, like for example I select the camera, right? This one here I know does not look like a real camera, but works as one in Blender. Alright, this is the cube and so is the light. And here are the tools where you can zoom in or zoom out. You just have to click on it and move it upwards or down. The next one is to move the view, and same way click on that, move left or right to see the different objects. The next one is to move into the camera view. If you click on that, you get into the camera view, which will be the final rendering view. And here to the top is different layouts. For example, this is the general layout. The others are modeling, the sculpting, UV editing, texture painting, shading, animation, and so on. Alright, this is all about the interface of Blender. Now let's learn to move the objects. Before starting, I just would like to say that if you miss any move that I have said, right, you can just look at the bottom left corner over here, because this represents my mouse, the left key and the right click that I just did, or the middle one, right? And all the buttons that I click on my keypad will be visible there. For example, G or H, right? Now let's move on. If you want to move an object in Blender, you just have to click on the object, and there are particularly two ways from here. Either you click on the first tool towards your left, which is move. By this, you will be able to move them in particular axes. For example, if I want to move this on my x-axis, I will be dragging the arrow mark over there, just like that. Right? So now you can see the object moving. To confirm the position, just leave the object wherever you wish, or Y, like that, and similarly Z. Right now, I'm not able to see the z-axis properly. Why is it so? This is because I'm in the top view, right? Now, to shift to the bottom view and to see it from side, we just have to navigate through this circle over here. Click on Z and just go down or up from there. I hope you guys got it. The other way around is simply to click G and move the object wherever you like and confirm the position by clicking left button. You can zoom out and move the objects any position you wish, or click G. And if you want to move them after clicking G in a particular axis, then simply click X, Y or Z axis after clicking the button G. For example, if I click on X, it will move on X. If I click on Y, it moves on Y. If I click on Z, it moves on Z axis. This is all about moving the objects in Blender. Now, let's look at rotating and scaling of objects. If you want to rotate the object, simply click on the tool Rotate in the same menu. If you click on this, you get weird lines like these, isn't it? If you toggle through the red one, you'll be rotating the object in the x-axis, as you can see there, right? If you click on the green, then Y. If you click on the Z, then you will be rotating along the Z-axis. Or if you want to rotate without clicking on that, the shortcut for this is to click R. Now, if you want to rotate it along the X, simply click X and rotate it. Y, and simply click Y and rotate it. If Z, then the same thing. Similarly, if you want to resize the object, click on the other tool, Scale. You can scale it along the x-axis, along the y-axis, or along the z-axis. If you do not want to scale it along any axis, then you can simply click S on your keypad and pull it out to scale it large. And there you have a big cube, right? If you want to scale it along any axis, then simply click the respective axes after clicking S. For example, S, X, Y, and Z. That is all about scaling and rotating of objects in Blender. Let's look at adding new objects. I, as a beginner, personally was very interested and excited about this. I hope you guys are too, isn't it? Let's quickly move on. How do you add new objects? To add, let's delete the first object which is already created default. So to delete it, click on it and simply click on X and delete. One thing that you have to remember is that the objects that will be added will be placed at the 3D cursor. Where is the 3D cursor and what is it? This red and white dotted circle that you can see in the center of the viewport is nothing but the 3D cursor. The position of this can also be changed, but I prefer it to be at the center, right? So how do you add? Simply click on Shift and then A. So now you get a list of objects that you can add. There are meshes, curves, surface, metaball, and text, volume, grease pencil, armature, lattice, empty, image, light pro, etc, etc, etc. Right now what we have to focus on is just mesh. In mesh, there are a lot of objects that you can add. For example, let me add something funky, right? Like a monkey. Look. Now how do you look at that? Simply to navigate through the viewport, you have to go and use this axis which is present at the right top corner. Simply click on that and move the cursor. And there you can see a monkey is already ready over there, right? But personally, what I would prefer is to use a mouse, because using a mouse makes it much easier to navigate throughout the display. All I have to do is simply click on the middle button and move my mouse to look at the complete display of the object. And how do I add more objects now? Simply by clicking Shift A again, click on Mesh, and there you go. We have a sphere now. Grab it, move it along the x-axis, and Shift A again, Mesh, and something like an ecosphere. Grab it along the x-axis and place it there. This is how you move the objects, look out through the different angles in viewport, and also add the objects. Now let's meet in the next video. Till then, keep modeling. Bye bye.